Welcome everyone to the International Commentary channel. In today's news on October 10, as usual, we will talk about the war situation between Russia and Ukraine, but unfortunately, for us, it is the media. The West doesn't bother to report on Ukraine anymore. Online President Vladimir Zelensky is now extremely upset because he has lost his aura as a protagonist. This world is with Israel and Palestine, not Zelensky, but with the spirit of a veteran comedian. The online president now understands that if this world no longer pays attention to him, he will have to act as a joke to it's only made the world pay more attention in recent days. President Zelensky's daily messages are almost no longer reported by the Western media, Today, he also sent out a message filled with conspiracy theories that Putin is the only person behind everything that happens to both Israel and Gaza. The original message said we have all the data to clearly prove it that Russia is interested in inciting war in the Middle East, so that a new source of pain and suffering will erode global solidarity and exacerbate its divisions and disputes, will help the Russians destroy freedom in Europe. We can see how Russian propagandists gloat. We can see how Moscow's Iranian friends have openly extended a helping hand to the attackers of Israel. All of this represents a much greater threat than the world currently perceives. Past world wars were caused by local aggression. We know how to fight this threat. We have prepared the necessary steps, and our own goal is to protect the global solidarity needs as much as possible. Yes, in search of light and attention as well as internationally. He is willing to exchange for President Putin. It doesn't matter. After all, Russia is Ukraine's enemy. However, the funny thing here is that Zelensky is a native of Ukraine. As Jews, we can accept his support for Israel, but not a few days ago, he stood in front of the Canadian House of Commons and applauded a former Nazi soldier who in history had massacred him. A lot of Jews, including Ukrainians. Is this confusing to you? Ukraine supported the Nazi regime. Then Ukraine supported the Jews. And in this case, This can be explained as a syndrome of schizophrenia or dysfunction that has caused cognitive decline. However, it is not natural that President Online is honored by the world as a clown. Let's join together. See how the Western world evaluates after President Zelensky's speech crying for the fate of the Jews. But because of Ivory, an account called B22P commented as follows: we can't blame Zelensky. Losing the Western media limelight is a death sentence for him now. How will the money flow now that the attention has been diverted? While the account named Low commented as follows: he better find out who in his group sold all the NATO and US weapons that aided Ukraine to Han, because at the moment Ukraine seems to be the one who is arming Hamas. Then an account named Mo commented as follows. Let me translate the sentence in the video for you. We thank the Ukrainian government for selling us the weapons. This weapon is to fight against the enemy, so it's simply Ukraine is selling American weapons to Hamas. Yes, that's it. The clown condemns the Russians as the main cause of the conflict between Palestine and Israel. Ukrainian weapons are overflowing into the hands of Hamid, who has just made an invasion to attack and kill many Israeli civilians. Sometimes I think that it is not really Ukraine that provides weapons to them, but there is simply someone behind using Ukraine as a shield to incite conflict in the Middle East and then sell weapons to all sides. Yes, this trick is done best, and only one person does it. That's the Americans. On the one hand, they stood in front of the media and cried and said that they were with their brothers. On the other hand, they smuggled weapons out into the light to sell to the organization. Whichever candy they ate. Did the United States wealth increase by selling weapons after inciting conflicts between countries? To prove my point, the speculation is correct. Let's listen to the Pentagon's message. Responded to the media today that the United States has enough weapons to supply to the country, and Ukraine even more than that. Explaining this, the Pentagon spokesman said that while we were provided and will continue to provide a significant amount of assistance to Ukraine, we remain vigilant in ensuring that the United States can respond to crises and other contingencies. Responds to every request made by our Israeli partners, including others as needed. So it's not like the United States is running out of weapons. It's a joke about a country that lives by producing weapons to get rich from it to the position of a superpower. How can it run out of hot products? Perhaps it's all over for the Ukrainians too. The US does not dare to provide weapons with long range or great lethality to them. Ukraine is afraid that it will lead to a direct conflict with Ivory, and in the case of Israel, the Americans are all winners. They have no fear of selling weapons to their allies, selling weapons too. Weapons on the black market to support the Hamas organization is not the only way to prolong this conflict, but the longer it lasts, the more weapons the US sells to both sides, if we consider the total. President Zelensky is a clown. We also need to consider Americans as the fathers of the acting industry. Recently in an interview on CNN, US National Security Council spokesman John Kirby suddenly collapsed. Tears wiped her eyes as reporters showed the scene of many civilians dying after the attack by Hamas forces. It's worth mentioning that when we zoomed in on the video, we didn't see it. What tears were on Comrade Kirby's face that, if he really had any eyes, today when nearly 2 million Palestinians were being bombed to devastate a small area, he had tears in his eyes. River or not, definitely not, because Palestine is not an ally of the US. And yesterday and today, the Israeli Air Force continuously posted videos announcing their planes. Continuous bombing caused many high-rise buildings in Gaza to completely collapse. The Israeli government said that these are areas where the Hamas government hides, but it is clear that Hamas is now hiding in underground bunkers under the passage is still on the ground. Of course, it's just a population. The area of Gaza is only about 360 kilometers, but it gathers more than 2 million native Palestinians. That's right, Israel. After taking away most of Palestine's land, the Palestinian people only know how to live in the Gaza Strip and don't know where else to go. And now, when Israeli fighters are constantly clearing landmines all over the city of the Gaza Strip, I would like to ask you, with such a dense population and such a small city area, will civilians be able to escape if the Russians also carry out this action in Ukraine? They used fighter jets to defuse bombs into the capital Kiev. Surely the world, including the United Nations, including us allies, will condemn the Russians, but something barbaric, however. This is the story of Israel while they are massacring and genociding the Palestinian people. A collective West is mourning the fate of Israeli citizens, is not John Kirby's crocodile tears. The news of European countries is the clearest proof of that. This is the first time I have seen an article on Reuters that at least had some merit when this newspaper published a headline with the following headline: "The people of Gaza do not know where to go to escape the Israeli attack." After the Hamas raid, the newspaper emphasized that Palestinians in Gaza are preparing for an attack. Israel's unprecedented large-scale attack with more than 130,000 people will have to leave their homes and stockpile necessary supplies as Israel continuously strikes airstrikes in densely populated areas. Even Israel's defense minister Galen warns that the price the people of Gaza will have to pay is a change in reality for generations to come, while imposing a total blockade on the entire region, including ban on import of food, medicine, fuel, including electricity and water. The current number of casualties of Palestinian civilians after Israeli airstrikes has not been accurately counted, but in a narrow and crowded manner. With such a population, Israeli airstrikes can cause thousands of civilians to swear their lives or even more, not to mention the Israelis who always say that they are here to destroy the Hamas terrorists. But what kind of terrorism is destroyed by cutting off electricity, water, fuel, food, medicine to all Palestinian civilians? If Palestinian civilians are lucky to survive because they are not killed by bombs, then that's okay. The next thing they have to face is hunger, cold, and illness. So remember that they do not represent Palestine, and the citizens of Palestine will not be held responsible. What did Hamas do to Israel? But the Israeli government is doing it. They are forcing Palestinians to take responsibility for clearing landmines with high density around cities and residential areas. To me, this is not an act of destroying terrorism, that is clearly an act of blatant invasion in its truest sense, while Hamas also threatens to kill hostages if it continues. Continuing to carry out such acts of airstrikes on civilians, the spokesman of the Al-Qassam brigade told the media that any target targeting any civilian without warning will face, with the execution of a civilian hostage in our custody, we will be forced to broadcast this execution. We regret that decision, but we will hold the interloper and the leadership of the state accountable, responsible for all the things they have done. Yes, with this message from the Hamas organization, the war will naturally escalate more and more. You attack us civilians, we will. Attacking your civilians is a story that will never end. The people who will suffer will be the citizens of both sides, as they will continuously be subjected to terrorist attacks from extremist forces that have not yet met Stop there. It seems that Israel is facing one of the new difficulties as Hezbollah published a video today with the message that we are coming in. Hezbollah militant video said they have prepared 250,000 missiles that are being aimed at Israel and can be launched at any time. They said that the escalation began this morning when Israel launched attacks on positions of Hezbollah in the border village of southern Lebanon. Even the Israeli Foreign Ministry issued a message warning Lebanon and Hezbollah not to test their patience when trying to find way to help Palestine. So Hezbollah released a video today saying that they have prepared 250,000 missiles. We don't know how many rockets, including how many cruise missiles, but this is a really large number. It also means that Hezbollah is ready to declare war on Israel despite warnings from the Tel Aviv government. This is what the Americans have warned Lebanon and Hezbollah, but it seems that they are not afraid of the American warnings. In a related message, Hamas also said that they are not afraid of us warships. If they dare to come to the Mediterranean, they are ready to sink them. Thanks to the wholehearted help of the Ukrainian people regarding the drones and unmanned airframes of the British Navy. Oh look, the weapons produced by NATO and supplied to Ukraine are now turned away to fight against them. These cheap unmanned boats once caused countless headaches for the Russian Navy. Now, the US Navy is a real cow with aircraft carriers worth billions and billions of dollars. I don't like being sunk by boats I built myself. In the end, if the Hezbollah war force really participates in the war to help the Palestinian people, this will be a great help. Large because Hezbollah warriors are one of the most experienced armies in the Mediterranean region. They were actively involved in wiping out terrorists in Syria in 2006. They also fought Syria, which caused this country suffered serious damage and was forced to sign the peace agreement. So Israel may be strong, but if we look at the entire situation in the Middle East, we will see that it won't end overnight. How do you all feel about this issue? Please comment below. For now, goodbye and see you in the next videos.